Welcome back, socialites. This is your host, Anne-Tso, and you're listening to the Soul Talks Club, the space where we heal out loud, one conversation at a time. First off, thank you for all the love on the last episode with our guest, Malcolm. It was raw, real, and honestly such a blessing to sit with someone I deeply respect and have that kind of conversation, which reminded me that your DMs, voice notes, and reposts, they all echoed that feeling that we do need more safe spaces like this. So thank you. Like always, this is powered by Seven Studios, the home of multi creatives in Cologne. And when I say multi, I really mean it. You can shoot your podcast, music video, throw a photo shoot, or even host a creative workshop out here. And if you're still figuring out what exactly to create, reach out to the Seven Studios founders directly. They're open to building and dreaming with you. Don't forget the code TSC5 for your first booking. And now, let's get into it. Today's episode is called Every People Pleaser's Nightmare. Because let's be honest, nothing stresses a people pleaser out more than the idea of drifting apart. Not because of drama, not because someone betrayed you, but because it's just not working anymore. And deep down, you know it. But how do you explain that to someone who's always been in your life? How do you say, you've been good to me, but we're just not walking in the same direction anymore? And how do you set that boundary without the guilt chewing you up from the inside out? You know, we often confuse we've known each other forever with we still know each other now. And the truth is, that's not always the case. We romanticize longevity, we treat history like it's a reason to stay, when really it's context, but it's not a confirmation. You went to school together, partied together, cried on each other's shoulders, but now you're in different seasons. They're building a home, they're raising kids, you're traveling, starting your business, chasing purpose. Or flip it, you're the one who settled down and you're still figuring life out, which isn't wrong, it's just different. So here's where the nightmare now kicks in. You feel bad for creating distance, you think letting go means that you didn't value the entirety of the friendship, but what if it just means honoring your current season? Think about a wedding. You're planning your wedding, looking at the guest list. Now you're like, do I feel bad for leaving them out, or are we actually still close? And that feeling of awkwardness, that fear of being the bad guy, question it. Have you ever met up with someone just to catch up, only to realize that 90% of the friendship is now catching up? Like you're updating them every single time, but when are you actually doing life together? See, that's the difference between familiar and aligned. Familiarity will keep you tied to someone's past, but alignment pulls you forward toward your future. You know, the friendship doesn't always have to be bad. It doesn't always have to mean that they wronged you, but if it feels like you're playing a role, then maybe you've outgrown it. You want to make everyone feel good, and that's honorable, but what's the cost of this? Because if your values no longer align, let's say you've grown spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and they haven't moved in that same direction, maybe they still gossip, maybe they still expect you to show up the way that you used to when you used to be more available, more agreeable, and less grounded. And the scariest part, you're too scared to say, this dynamic doesn't serve me anymore, because you don't want to come off as cold or selfish or self-absorbed. Let me tell you the truth. Sometimes the absence of tension is exactly what gives you the permission to let go. And if you're anything like me, the hardest shifts aren't dramatic, they're subtle. It's the slow fade. It's realizing the phone only rings when you call first. It's realizing you've become the emotional sponge, the one who always listens, always supports, but never feel seen yourself. And I couldn't talk about people pleasing without talking about family. Because many of us, especially those raised in tight knit collectivist or faith based communities, understand that family equals loyalty. We're taught that they're your blood, just accept them. But what happens when their character contradicts your convictions? What happens when being around them triggers your anxiety, your boundaries, or your inner child? Real talk, you wouldn't choose to hang out with certain people if they weren't your cousin, auntie, uncle. You wouldn't let a friend speak to you like that, but because it's your parent, you tolerate it. And if you try to pull the trigger, then suddenly you're ungrateful, you're disrespectful, you're too sensitive. No one talks about how painful it is to admit just because we're related doesn't mean we're relationally healthy. And as a believer, that's especially hard because we're called to love, but that doesn't mean that we're called to be walked over. Jesus still flipped tables. Let's get into today's DMs. So today's DM is from Miriam, and she writes, Hi, Anne. I've been slowly distancing myself from a friend I've known since uni. We were so close back then, but lately, every time we meet up, it feels awkward. We don't have the same values anymore. I've changed a lot in my habits and in my values, but I still feel bad for stepping back. I don't know how to let go without feeling like I'm abandoning her. Miriam, I hear you, and I want to say this plainly. You're not abandoning anybody. You're being honest with where you're at. And sometimes maturity is knowing that when a friendship has reached its natural end without needing anyone to be the villain, it's okay to let go. You can love someone and still release them. Sometimes honoring someone means not pretending that you're still the same when everything just indicates that you're not. Here's what I leave you with. Healing your self-trust means learning to believe yourself when your spirit says, this version of me doesn't belong here anymore. It doesn't mean cutting people off in anger. It means releasing them with clarity. You're allowed to grow. You're allowed to shift. You're allowed to outgrow the very dynamics that once made you feel safe. Let me read to you today out of Ecclesiastes. And it's chapter 3, verse 1. There is an occasion for everything and the time for every activity under heaven. Next week, we're going to go even deeper. We're going to talk about body image, how we see ourselves, how cultures shaped us, how traumas shaped us, and how we start to finally heal. So from eating disorders to emotional eating, fitness culture to plastic surgery, this one's going to be layered. So here's my trigger warning in advance for you. We will be touching on these topics. If you've ever felt at war with your reflection, this episode might be for you. Hey, if you like this episode, please share it with someone that you have on your heart, and also leave us a review on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. It helps more women find this space. And if this was your first time with us, welcome to the club. You're now a socialite. I'll see you back next week in the living room.